Good evening. The meeting of the Tomball ISD Board of Trustees for the September workshop meeting is called to order at 5:31 p.m. For the record, a quorum of the board is present. All trustees are in attendance tonight, with the exception of Dr. Pratt. The meeting is being recorded in accordance with Government Code Section 551.128. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Dr. Martha Salazar-Zamora, to proceed with reports.
Thank you so much, President McStravick, members of the board, those of you in the audience this evening. We have two reports for you. The first is the School Health Advisory Council, otherwise known as SHAC, membership report. Karen Graves, our Director of Administrative Services, will deliver this brief report.
Okay, good evening, President McStravick, Dr. Salazar-Zamora, members of the board and cabinet. I am here to read the names of the SHAC committee for the 2024-2025 school year. These names, as you recall, are appointed by the school board, and then we do have some names also appointed by our superintendent, so I'm just going to read the names for you. We have in position 1, the appointees are Beth Isernhagen and David Grimm. For position 2, Monique Bennett and Shannon Lewis. Position 3, Leslie Johnson and Rebecca Masiola. Position 4, Jennifer Connor and Janice Wagoner. Position 5, Eric Zwerneman and Jocelyn Ray. Position 6, Mark Siegeloff and Allison Turner. And position 7, Lori Gudekay and Lacey Housel. And those are the board appointees. And then the superintendent appointees. We have Bob Thompson, Dean of Student Advancement, Kathy Poole, Director of Health Services, Whitney Johnson, Director of Child Nutrition, Kevin Flanagan, Athletic Director, Bliss Bailey is a nurse at TAEC, Karen Graves, Director of Administrative Services, and Stephen Shields, Director of Guidance and Counseling. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And also want to thank our community members that are willing to serve on such an important advisory council that does serve in an advisory capacity only. Next, we have Exceeding Excellence 2030. This report excites me very much because when I think about our first strategic plan and then our second strategic plan, we are now on our third strategic plan. A lot of work has gone into this. I'm excited to hear from our very own Chief of Staff, Dr. Amy Schindewolf, about where we have landed on Exceeding Excellence 2030. Dr. Schindewolf.
Good evening, President McStravick, Dr. Z, and members of the board. We are excited tonight to present the progress on the development of our third strategic plan in the district. Just last month, I came to you with the culminating presentation for Strategic Plan 2025, and here we are to hopefully launch Exceeding Excellence 2030. Strategic planning, or should I say a fully supported strategic plan, allows a district to achieve its objectives and its goals on a long range, and we look at 5 years at a time. These objectives sometimes are things that are brand new. Sometimes they are not completely brand new, but rather an expansion, an elevation, or to go along with our title, an exceeding of the excellence that we currently have. Hello. There we go. We started the development in our design process by partnering with Into Learning, and we thought that it was important to have an outside consultant and facilitator to lead us through the design process. At the beginning, we also launched a thought exchange that went from February 19th to March 1st. And just a few of the statistics that we had there, we had 2,729 participants, 1,298 thoughts, and 60,274 ratings on those thoughts. So there was a high rate of participation in people answering that thought. And as a reminder, the question that we asked all of our community was, as we look forward over the next 5 years, what are things that you think that we need to think about if we are going to exceed excellence in Tomball ISD? There were some common themes that came out of that thought exchange, and Some of those themes did pertain to things that we can control in a strategic plan, and some of them didn't. First of all, the number one theme that came out was compensation for staff. And although that is very important, and we agree with that, a strategic plan cannot fund compensation for staff. Other themes that came out were looking at staffing models, technology, support, various types of support for our employees, behavior in the classroom, behavioral and mental health of our students and our staff, and then a focus on trades and life skills. And so I think when you look in the backup and some of the things that we go to with our strategic plan that we're putting out, you'll see that those themes, when it is applicable, are applied. The design committee was formed. We had 66 members, 34 were staff, 32 were parent and community members. Those parent and community representatives were reflective of our campuses. Each campus was asked to provide names of people who would like to participate, and we did have representation from each of our campuses in the district. We sent letters to them on February 12th asking for them to participate, and we had a very high rate of people who agreed. And those that didn't, we went to a second person so that we made sure that we had people from each campus. Also in our process, we did get the student voice. We had a student panel come to talk to us at one of the design committee meetings we had from elementary through high school, and they were asked questions from our facilitator, Roz Keck, and they were able to provide their perspective and through the lens of our students, which is very important. We had a schedule of design team meetings. We started in March. This is a list. Between May and August, very important work happened. There were several meetings that happened throughout the summer, and each member of the strategic plan either signed up for or was assigned to a subcommittee. And there were various meetings that occurred in those subcommittees where actually the strategies were developed that aligned to the goals. And so everything that you see in the strategic plan proposal was developed by the committee, not by administration. The outcomes of the plan were that we came up with 10 beliefs, 1 vision, 1 mission statement, 7 objectives, 10 goals, and 41 strategies. 41 strategies, that's a lot of strategies, but when you think about 5 years, that's something that we believe is very doable. The beliefs, you see them written out in your backup, but I will say that when I put them in to create a word cloud, these are the things that came out about the beliefs in Tomball ISD. And you will see there that one of the largest things that is represented is community. And you'll see throughout the plan that that is, I would say, the largest elevation, enhancement, or exceeding where we are is the inclusion and better partnership with the community in a variety of ways. Of course, we see in our beliefs that we believe in learning, alignment, development, students, experience, activity, actively, accountability, and all of those things that are mentioned. But I thought that this was an interesting way to just show what was in the beliefs. Our vision, the design committee decided would remain the same. Tomball ISD students will lead in creating the future, and they felt very strongly that that current vision is still what we stand for. However, when you go to the mission statement, you will see a slight change. And the mission statement that is proposed is that Tomball ISD empowers students to become impactful, contributing citizens by providing innovative, individually rigorous, and personally valuable educational experiences while partnering with the community. And so, although there are a couple of words that have changed in the top of that, the mission statement remains mostly the same as what we currently have, with the exception of that very last part of the phrase, while partnering with the community. And so you will see that that is directly aligned with the beliefs that we have, that were developed by the committee, And so as a mission, we are saying that we are going to serve students and empower students and meet the needs of those students, but we are going to do so while partnering with the broader community. And that is a pretty big change in our mission statement, but one that the design committee believed wholeheartedly in. When you look at our objectives, these are words that came out, and you'll see there about skills. Life skills really came out in what we thought that we should be focusing on over the next 5 years. It not only came out in the thought exchange, but it came out with the design committee. Resiliency. We talked about behavioral and mental health extensively, but what I will say is the word resilience really was repeated about our students being able to manage adversity. And then those are the other words that you can look at that are embedded in those objectives. But of course, you can see the full formal written objectives in your backup. There are 10 goals, and I'm not going to read through each of these to you, but I will highlight a few things within the strategies that you might see. At the end of this, I'll talk about the next steps, but before we talk about the goals and strategies, what I will tell you is that the strategies are the things that we will do to meet this goal, but the specific action plan of the step 1, step 2, step 3, through the evaluation of how we will bring that strategy to fruition has not yet been developed. Because once that's a follow-up to if the board approves these strategies, then we develop the specific action steps to get those strategies done. You'll see here on goal 1, when we talk about recruiting, developing, and retaining highly qualified staff who foster connections and are empowered to continue to seek growth opportunities and influence student success for all. A few of the things that you will see come out of these strategies that I want to highlight are, when you look at the PD and at that first one, it talks about different options. So we have a comprehensive professional learning program now. That is something that we have focused on since the development of our first strategic plan. And in every iteration, I believe that we've gotten better at that. And under the direction of Dr. Wright, he continues to work comprehensively for us to get better and better at that. You will see PD throughout a lot of these strategies, but the one that I want to highlight here is virtually. That's something that would allow us to maybe offer it in a different way. I'm looking at just a very diverse approach to professional learning to meet our teachers where we are. Also, you'll see here that I want to point out is that it's aligned to needs. And we do try to, at the campus level and at the district level, really take and target that if a teacher needs or wants to grow in a certain area, we try to target them to a specific professional learning goal, session, etc. But Dr. Wright said something to me today, and I'm like, that's it. And he said, personalized with a purpose. And I liked that. And it really speaks to me that when you look at professional learning for anyone that's a staff member, you want to personalize that. And that is what will really elevate what we do now. And then when we look at developing through career pathways, we currently have a leadership pipeline. We were a Holdsworth district. We have focused on that specific leadership pipeline. This is beyond that. This is about any staff member being able to have a career pathway to get where they are. It might not be from assistant principal to principal. It might be enhancing something that we've started like our Grow Your Own. It's looking for initiatives that we can bring into our district, partnerships, however we get that done over the next 5 years, that if you're in this role and you want to progress through these roles, this is how we can help you do that. When we look at goal 2, here's that word resilient again. That was something that was repeated again and again. Tomball ISD will foster a resilient school community by intentionally equipping staff to promote healthy behaviors, decision-making, and emotional growth. And this is where I mentioned at the front of this presentation about students being able to manage adversity. And if something doesn't go well, how can we foster that resiliency in them? This goal is about connectedness, making sure that we provide opportunities in our district for every student to have a place to belong. And that goes back to our elevator speech. But this is looking at what are our clubs, what are our organizations? Are we missing something? Are we missing where there's a group of students that are not connected to the school community? And how can we fix that? And how do we assess that year to year and know where we stand and then make a decision based on data to add things, to get rid of things, to adjust, to adapt, so that our students, as our population changes, as our enrollment changes, that what we offer matches our student population. Goal 3, Tomball ISD will provide a comprehensive character education framework to develop contributing citizens and leaders in the community. We offer character education K-12. We do that through Great Expectations to start at our K-6 campuses. We also have career written into our curriculum and our secondary campuses. That is something that we do. And then we also have other things that we do day in and day out that we work on developing character in all of our students. It is our intention to continue to enhance those models so that we can consider ourselves model campuses at every level, that we can distinguish ourselves from other districts, that we're not only providing character education because it is required by the state, but that we are doing everything that we can to be distinguished at what we do and to make sure that we're offering the absolute best that we can for our students. You see here again that when you look at the parent university, I mentioned last month, and I told Steve Shields to get ready at that, no pressure, but that we really dipped our toe in the water with Parent University over the last year. And we initiated some sessions, but he's really taking that off the ground and working cross-departmentally to offer various types of Parent University sessions this year. And not only putting it out and saying, come and see us, but we are looking at over the next 5 years offering various formats of that. Is there something that we can offer virtually to all of our parents? Is it something that we can offer at different times to really try to match the needs of our community and what they need to learn? And then finally here, behavior in the classroom is something that came out in the thought exchange and also something that was discussed by the design committee extensively. And we have already started this, but having it in our strategic plan will really drive us down a path where we can integrate behavioral health into our PLC process. And so we have initiated some things at the beginning of this year, but this will really allow us to enhance the way that we can focus on behavior in the classroom and approaches to positive redirection to have a positive effect on our classroom and school communities. In Goal 4, Tomball ISD will prioritize family and community partnerships to cultivate pride and ensure a strong and stable public school experience. So when we think about communications and how we will market our district, how we will educate our community about the things that we do, we've had various conversations that I can think of at board meetings, at different administrative meetings, where we've said, do we show people what we really do? Does our community know what this experience is in a classroom? Does a parent know what it looks like to learn in the classroom? And how can we give a parent that lens or a community member that lens into what we do inside of our classrooms? Because the things that we do every day instructionally are phenomenal things. Our teachers are highly successful in the classroom. So why don't we let people in? So the communications team will be focusing on more videos showing lenses of this is what it looks like in the classroom. This is what it looks like in the school. This is what the student experience is in public education. And so that will be an enhancement that we're working on. When we focus about that strategy 3 on mentorship, we have various mentor programs in our district. What we don't have is a comprehensive district-wide mentor program that partners with the community, where we ask for teachers, will you be a mentor to this student? But we don't have a district-wide approach where we are saying, let's find community partners to be mentors for our students. And we have people who want to connect, we have people who want to help, and so that is something that I think that over the next 5 years, we have been challenged by the design committee, and that I think that we can meet to really strengthen. And then 4 is really just, again, what I was saying, a look into the classroom and that pro-public ed look into what we offer. Goal 5 is about providing a safe, secure, and caring environment that nurtures a sense of physical and social safety for the entire school community. This will focus on prevention, and much of that is what we do now in terms of we want to prevent something from happening. We want to focus on the behavioral side first, and so that's what you will see through strategy 1. And then when you look at modern security systems, those things over the next 5 years could include an update to our smart tag system. It could include access control, types of things like that that will really enhance the safety of our facilities. Goals 6 and 7 are partner goals. In 6, we will empower students with the knowledge necessary to be responsible, ethical digital citizens while navigating the digital world. And so this one is about digital citizenship, about responsibility when you are online. And when you look at emerging technologies, those emerging technologies can be a variety of things, but right now we know that one of the things that we focus on the most that we're trying to navigate is the addition of AI into the classroom. And so how do we navigate that? How do we responsibly use that? Not only as teachers in the classroom, how do we use it, but how do our students use it ethically and correctly in order to enhance their learning? And so it focuses on a lot of those things. We have things in here such as common sense media, development of policy, writing the digital citizenship standards into our curriculum, K-12, instead of it being a standalone digital citizenship week, where it's something, it's just how we teach, so that we are embedding that. When you get to goal 7, it transitions into creating a unified technology vision across all campuses that enriches high quality instruction. We heard from our design committee a little bit about, we want to know that this is not what my campus thinks technology should be used, but what does the district think? How will technology be accessed? How much will it be used? And what is that vision from elementary to intermediate to junior high to high school? And so I have heard, he's not here tonight, but I have heard Dr. Pratt say, we want to be leading edge. And so we do want to be leading edge, but we want to have the opportunity through strategy 1 to research, pilot, and prioritize those leading edge technologies to make sure that we are studying them, seeing how they will work within the curriculum, what will it do for our students, before we say, here we go, we're going full force, K-12, we're going to implement this. So this provides us the opportunity to really look at those emerging technologies, allowing for project-based learning, and really saying what works where. And maybe it just works in a pocket, or maybe it works district-wide. This one is hard. This one is hard because as soon as we make a decision, the technology will change. And so we know that it changes faster than we can keep up with it. But within this, it's really just a focus over the next 5 years about choosing what works best for our students and putting our resources behind that and making sure that we have the infrastructure to support that in the classroom. When you get to Goal 8, we will provide a premier learning experience for present and future students through maximum utilization of financial and physical resources. This one is something that you will see a difference here, is that we plan to engage the community in our approach to financial and fiscal resources. We've talked about this a little bit too, that we can post our awards online that we're super proud of, but does our community understand what they stand for? And do we bring them in and allow them the opportunity to really engage with us about that strategic approach to debt management, capitalizing on opportunities to lower interest rates, reduce impact to taxpayers, because ultimately it's the taxpayer's dollar. So we do want to have initiatives that engage the community in that. Goal 9 is that we will design and deliver innovative, aligned professional learning that inspires high expectations and fosters autonomy. When you look through this, you will see that this is where we really want to enhance what we are doing now, and we know that every single thing that we do is dependent on quality professional learning, so that we not only train people how to implement our initiatives, but we support them through that implementation through ongoing coaching and feedback. We also, again, have focused on our leadership pipeline, but it's also important that people develop skills to be leaders in their current seat. And that's something that we have started to focus on more, but an example of that would be our Into Learning Teacher Leadership Institute. And so we have teachers throughout the district we have asked to commit to leadership training, but it is not to get them to propel to the next position. This is not a leadership training where we're saying, if you go through this, then you're going to be an assistant principal. This is about how, if I want to stay a teacher, how do I remain a teacher and become a teacher leader and be the best that I can possibly be at my current job? And so we want to continue to provide opportunities such as that so that people are the absolute best that they can be in their current seat. And if they aspire to move up through the pipeline, then that will only help them. But it's not the intention of that initial experience. And finally, Goal 10, we will ensure relevant college, career, and military readiness, or CCMR programming, to cultivate a deeper understanding of vertical alignment for career awareness and post-secondary planning. Post-secondary planning is a very complicated process. And for any of you who have current high school students who are getting close to graduating, or you have recent graduates, you know that you're like, I wish I would have known, or I wish someone would have explained this to me then. This really focuses on that complex process of what we can do to better engage our parents and better inform our parents and create those parent partners that this is what we are doing to prepare students for whether it's college, career, or military, whatever post-secondary choice they have. We want them to not only be ready, but well informed. We also want to take our CCMR standards and we want to include them in the curriculum K-12 so that it's not something that we say when you get to 11th grade, okay, now we want to put you on this college pathway. Now we need you to start thinking about this. We did move CTE down in our last strategic plan, where we have classes at the 7th grade level, jumpstart classes, things like that. But this is really a focus on different initiatives that we can do at an early age where it just is part of our culture, that we are growing students to go into whatever path they wish. And then the last strategy there, the design committee debated on whether this should be in Goal 10 or in the goal that focused on HT. And they decided to leave it here because it's really about when you get to those higher level classes at the high school whether it's those innovative CTE classes, like let's say our, we always use the word culinary, that you want a chef to teach culinary. You want somebody with that experience. Or whether it's your law enforcement class, you want someone who has that experience. But also in our advanced courses, our advanced core classes, you have to have someone who has specific experience to be successful in those advanced academic programs. And so this is about specific recruiting initiatives that focus on those pathways in advanced academic programs specifically, to make sure that we're able to continue to not only provide the programs, but to find the appropriate staff to bring those programs to fruition. When we look at next steps, the first thing is the approval of the plan and the funding package. And so when we think about that, you'll see that on the board agenda, there's not only an item for asking for your approval to for strategic plan Exceeding Excellence 2030 for the beliefs, the mission, the vision, the objectives, the strategies, the goals. But it's also a separate action item for the set-aside amount for $4 million for over the next 5 years to implement these strategies. If we look back to Strategic Plan 2025, the board awarded $4 million of set-aside funds to get that plan done. And last month, we were able to come to you and say, thank you, and we were able to get the strategic plan done under budget. So what we are asking is that we would set aside another $4 million for the next 5 years that we would be able to put towards all of the action plans that will be developed for this strategic plan. After that is approved, then the strategies will be assigned to specific leaders who have expertise for that specific strategy, and they will work with teams to create those action plans. Timelines for implementation will be created, and then we are in the process working with Justin Warnash. He is helping to design a progress monitoring dashboard, which we have not had before, to really look at our strategic plan and annually how we are getting there and monitoring the progress of it throughout those 5 years. That was a lot of information.
Thank you so much, Dr. Schindewolf. That was a lot of information to put together in a very, very well-done presentation. I know that's not easy, so thank you. Thank you to everybody that's been a part of this work. It has been a wonderful activity, I think, for community, school district, community members, parents, students, board members, staff to, again, come together and help us with what Exceeding Excellence can look like. What questions do you have? What thoughts do you have? Of course, to proceed, we would need to have your support on this. And our big ask, as we know it is a big ask, is the same as it was in the last strategic plan for $4 million. And our goal is to come in under budget and under time, right? Ahead of time. Questions, thoughts? I see a lot of red.
And more a comment, it's like a lot of us were there for the whole thing, so we kind
Sure,
of seen the
sure.
whole progress from the
Right.
first meeting to where we are now to where I don't have a whole lot of questions. It's just
Great.
hopefully we can do it quicker and faster and cheaper than we did the other one before. So I don't think I have really anything specifically since we're kind of where we were in the weeds.
Right.
So I feel very comfortable with everything. Everything seems to be, you get to all the strategy, that might be way over my head, but, the basics it's all sitting there.
Thank
For
you for
me.
that. Appreciate it.
I'll go next. I do have one question, which is, when can we see more, I guess, right? The next, assuming that things go tomorrow
When you
night
say
as
yes.
expected. But a lot of comments. So Matt's right. I was fortunate enough to sit in on this process, and I thought it was great. I love strategy. I love deep thinking. I love thinking about the future, and that's what this whole process was about. And I really enjoyed it. I'm glad the community was there and representatives from all the campuses and different nooks and crannies of the district. And what I heard through the presentation, which is what I would hope to hear, is I heard students, I heard teachers and staff, and I heard community. And those kind of three big things, which were very important to me as a board member. And I'm glad to hear that that's throughout, right? That theme is all the way there. I know that there's money that will be spent on this, assuming it goes through, and I would be supportive of that, because it's money being spent, but it's an investment. It's an investment in the community and the students, and that's really what education is, right? At the end of the day, we're investing in tomorrow with all of these kids, because they're going to grow up and they're going to be sitting out there 10 years from now, 20 years, whatever it is. They're going to be out in Main Street running businesses, things like that, and that's what we're doing here. So for me, this ties into that very well. It's deep thinking about the future. It's setting up Tomball as a community to be successful in the future. So I'm really happy and very excited to get started on this. So
Thank you,
nice
Mr.
work.
Unser. I appreciate that. And you're right, it really is about planning for the future. And we know any amount of money is an ask, and we understand this is a big ask, but it is a lot of work that we know will only continue to propel our Destination Excellence District.
I'll just point out, last time he came in under budget.
Yes.
It's okay to do that again.
Yeah, you know?
That's okay.
We will try.
okay.
Mr. McLeod?
Okay, so thank you for taking my questions.
Yes, sir.
We ask questions when we review the packet. We get this big, thick packet, hundreds of pages, and if you take some time to read through it, then it comes up, we have questions. And so we send them to Martha, and then she spends time, her team, their team, all of them spend some time answering. But I do still have some questions.
Yes, sir.
Was I the only one who felt like some of this is achieved already? That was kind of my first read of things, and I was honest in my
Sure.
response that there's a number of these that seem to be in place, and I know that we're wanting to exceed the excellence that we already are doing, but I felt like if there's any possibility of collapsing, combining, shrinking the number of goals, was that talked about, or was 10 the magic number? Because it seems to be stretched. This is my personal opinion. And the question is, can there be consolidation of the goals? And I don't know if it was that talked about.
So there was, and if you notice, there was even the conversation about where even placement of goals, there's that much strategy that goes into all of that. We can certainly look at that again because it is robust, you're right. But I want to address your first question of some of this feels repetitive. And I think that it is, because when we started that very first, the only strategic plan that Tomball ISD has ever had in the history of our district was 2017. So it was fresh eyes, and it was new, and it was everything that we needed it to be. Now, I will tell you, when I look back, I sit and think, wow, what was I thinking? There were some things that we certainly could have put, didn't put, but we learned like anything. With the second one, we improved, right? We were able to add some, delete things that maybe didn't need to be there, and expand. So because this isn't the first, this is the third, there is some sentiment, a feeling of repetition, but know that that's because the body of what we're working with is what has been successful for our district. And so the community, the parents, the staff, the students, the board members, I think all led to that. So I want you to understand that yes, there does feel at times that there is some repetition, but it is good repetition. It's what we would want. It's what has propelled us to continuously be the high-performing district that we are, providing a well-rounded education. So that's good. We can go back and look and see if there's ways in which anything can be condensed. And then, when we give...
You don't have to do any of that. I'm just curious if that ever was talked about.
Yes.
Does this feel like a stretch?
It was actually at multiple meetings.
I came to some of those meetings, but I don't remember there ever being like, hey, we don't need 10, let's do 8, or let's have 5.
How many of the, and I don't know really, because I didn't go to all the committee meetings. That's where the work, the condensation took place.
I got you.
In committee work, and so.
That's okay. This is more of a, let me talk out loud, think out loud. Forgive me for that.
That's good.
On goal 3.
It means you did your homework and you read the whole packet.
I did.
That's a good thing.
On goal 3, there's this talk of character ed, and there's mention of wanting these counselor. It's called the Texas Model for Comprehensive School Counseling.
Correct.
And my question was the number of counselors we have on our campuses. As you look at national data, you look at the TEA recommended 350 students per counselor. And I know we stretched that.
Yes, and we continue to add, although that is a number that's something we continue to look at and work with through Mr. Shields.
But like, here's
Dr.
a
Webb.
bold idea. Looking at that model, which is now codified in this document as our aim, we want to be part of the Texas model for comprehensive school counseling or adopt that. Our counselors are really not counselors like they used to be. They're like, I don't know, success agents. They're navigators. They're helping students decide for their future. And that's counseling, I get it. But I'm curious, the spend is not small, $4 million. Is there any aspect of that that could go towards more counselors?
That would be something that we would look at, but I want to revert back to your comment. So we do have a lot of counselors, and we have counselors that help with the career planning, as you mentioned. We have our CTE counselors. We have our counselors for various different programs, right? For CCMR, we have our counselors that do help for, all of our counselors are available for students that may be in need of additional assistance. And we know that continues to be on the rise, not just in Tomball, but nationwide. So our counselors do multi. Some of them have very specific lens, although they are there to help kids at any given time. We will be continuously looking at the numbers as we have every single year. And trust me, Dr. Webb brings me the numbers and the counts, and we look at it and we see what we can do. But that is a bold, that is a push to say that's something we'd like to move towards. And it is something
Well, because
that
I'm
we
thinking of like wraparound services, which I don't know how much we spend on that. Some of it's donated, it's grants and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there's a district spend quite
There's
a
a
bit on
district
that.
spend on wraparound services. So the role of a counselor used to really be to maybe provide some of those wraparound services, but they're consumed with so many other things that they can't maybe provide the counseling that they may have one day provided. Does that?
But they assist with those services.
I get that,
Yeah,
but there's
along
a lot
with other staff.
I'm just trying to think outside the box here in terms of our spend. Are we outsourcing things that we could insource? It's a fair question in terms of can we get more counselors to actually do what we're already outsourcing to other people? Have them be part of this grand vision. What's going to help a kid more? The counselor they see every day in the school, or the person they call in New Jersey on a telecounsel visit?
So telecounseling
Right?
is an additional
No,
service on
I
top
get
of,
that,
but yes.
but I'm just, again, thinking of how can we get more, in particular, counselors.
Yeah.
When I think traditionally of a counselor, I think of someone who knows kids,
Right.
right? They know kids. Lachelle Nix knows kids. She knows what's going on in their families. I mean, anyhow, you know what I'm saying. I was yesterday at a visitation for the Rodriguez family, and I saw counselors from TMHS there. That's what they do.
Of course.
They know kids. They love kids. So how can we get more people that know kids, love kids, and they're there specifically to do just that? And if it means, I don't know, redefining the pie as to what we allot for the spend on this, I'm just wanting to look at all of that.
Okay, we'll continue to look at that. And then the services that we provide, we certainly make sure that they are individuals who, although they may not know our students, certainly love kids and get to know our students.
I
through.
totally get that. Yeah, don't overread my statements. So I'm alleging that we're sending our kids to people who don't care. No, I'm not saying any of that. Okay. I'm just saying it works better when you have somebody boots on the ground in the school.
Well, there's
personally
something
speaking.
familial when it's somebody
bet.
you see on your campus,
You
for
bet.
sure. And we love the idea of more campus support, so definitely we'll look at that.
The question I had on Goal 6, AI, artificial intelligence, and VR. So I've got a bunch of kids in college right now, and they just say it's kind of atrocious, the use of AI for writing papers. I figure if it's happening in college, it's probably happening in high school. I don't know the fix. I don't know how you get around that when we're talking about cheating and doing your own work. I don't know if you go to handwriting again. Let's handwrite everything so that you can't just copy and paste and replicate somebody's material. But when we talk about digital citizenship, the reason I was asking this question is because it seems there is a larger conversation about digital citizenship, which we're in the middle of. You asked the district and parents to comment on use of phones and all of that and devices. And ultimately, the conversation seemed to be about resilience in kids and their well-being, and I just wonder if we kind of zoom out in our conversation with kids about the use of digital citizenship that goes beyond don't ruin your future posting a naked pic, or don't, bully a kid via social media, do we get into actually talking about their long life well-being, amount of time they're on the screens, what they actually put their eyes on. There's things you cannot unsee, can ruin your future marriage life. I mean, I'm curious if that's part of what we teach in digital citizenship, and it sounded like it isn't necessarily, but it maybe could be in a sex ed class. That was one of my questions. I know I'm getting in the weeds, forgive me. You don't even need to respond, Dr. Zamora.
I'm just drinking water.
Drink water, that's good. Okay. I just had a lot of thoughts about this, and I guess I'm not obviously sold on the notion of what's been presented yet, and I'll think on it further, but I'm in the corner of the district, and all the vision and plans you guys pull together always seem to work out wonderfully, but when it comes down to the way this, I guess, rolled out in front of me, it just seemed like, there's more to be asked about it, so I appreciate you taking my questions. Thanks for taking my questions. Thank you, team, for taking my questions. And does any of that resonate with any of you? Am I alone in these questions or thoughts?
No, I think they're great questions. The mental health questions.
There you go.
I have concerns about the mental health. I mean, how we go about doing it, the checks and balances. So we just don't want anyone in there. I mean, as a parent, I would want to pick who my child is talking to and to know what they're talking to them about and have feedback from. So I think, and the AI is extremely scary, and we have to educate our students, but, how do we combat this? I mean, what are the checks and balances for all these things that we want to implement?
I want to add a little bit. I talked about the mental health, but I was not able to continue on the AI. I want us to remember that although there are grave concerns, and I have children and grandchildren, I have adult children now, rather, grandchildren, one actually in school now, so I am worried about that. But I also recognize that there have been times in history where we have learned to utilize tools in a good way, like teach children the right way to use something. I don't know about anybody else up here, but I will frequently refer to AI as a starter for a letter I'm writing, as an idea. There's incredible opportunities. It doesn't mean I will take it and brand it as my own, because there's always been cheating, whether you cheat on pencil or paper, whether you cheat with a calculator, whether you cheat with a computer, whether you cheat with AI. You yourself, I think what we need to remind children is that you're only hurting yourself if you cheat. The person you cheat is yourself, because you don't learn. And I don't think that's ever been the Tomball way and will ever be. I do think we have to be hyper-vigilant about something like AI, because there are a lot of dangerous things out there. Mr. McLeod, you're right. Things that we need to make sure that kids don't get into, and that's probably always been the case, but there's a lot more opportunities now. So I agree with you with that. But I don't think that we can have a society of children that fear what is there, that they have access to. We have to help them utilize the tools so that they can do better, learn better, and perhaps enhance what they're doing based on whatever they're able to grasp from this tool. Now, I'm limited, very limited at my use, but at the times that I have been able to, everything I've done, I think, has been enhanced because of that. Whether it's preparing a speech, whether, again, it's even writing a letter, whatever it might be. I find it a very good tool, but I also know not to have a full prepared speech and present it as my own, right? That's back to making sure students know what is right, what is wrong. But we will continue to look at that because it's important. Just felt I had to add that.
But I think that's part of the process with the AI.
Sure.
I mean, yes,
Sure.
we have to embrace it to a point, but we also
Right,
have
but
to
also
teach
know the
ethics
dangers.
And accountability, and, that if they are caught cheating, there's consequences
Sure.
to their actions.
Just like there are now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Leah, I'm gonna say, I'm not too worried about any of this. Now, if we get into the different subgroups, then, I mean, we got the 40,000 foot level right here. So you get down to the little nitty gritty stuff, then you might be able to maybe have some concerns, but we're not quite there yet. And then like on AI, y'all know I can barely use this thing right here, and I'm not afraid of AI. There's a whole high school in Georgia who uses AI for everything. It's all embedded. So if a school in Georgia can do it, I think we can do it too. And they even go down to the kindergartners with AI. So, but it's all about being responsible use of AI. So now, if you're not using, if you're using it, like one of my kids tried to write a paper using AI, and I said, son, if you could have wrote this good, you wouldn't be in this class. So let's redo it, okay? So it's one of those things to where it's a learned process and there's consequences. But if you're afraid of AI, if you have Alexa in your house, throw it out, because that's just AI. So if you're afraid of AI, get rid of this thing. 'Cause it's all around us. It's going to be growing. In 5 years, it's going to be like second nature. You're not. It's going to be embedded in everything.
We're not even going to need school boards, are we?
No,
We're just
we're
going
not.
to turn to the AI.
And there's also, and then I talked to Dr. Z. There's a whole
Skynet.
whole school in Austin that basically it's AI taught. So now we had to look at that school, but it's here. I'm not worried about it. If everybody's doing the right way, it's gonna be great. Now, if you got the kids who think they can turn in their paper and you can definitely tell pretty fast, then that'll be the same thing as punishment. I mean, we got kids now who are texting the test to the parents so the parents can tell them the answer. So that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna cheat, you're gonna find a way to cheat, but the AI will, I think, once we get a lot more smarter, it's gonna be really easy to tell.
But,
in my personal opinion.
but that's the whole purpose of this goal and this strategy. I just happened to be sitting on the same committee as a gentleman out there who I worked with on this, and that's the whole purpose. To figure out, to develop a plan, to develop an approach that we can address AI and other types of technology that's going to come to us in the future. How do we do that? And so that's the whole purpose of the goal, is to figure that out. Or the strategy, rather. But, I made this kind of lighthearted analogy, but, years ago, right, in a classroom, there was the chalkboard, and the teacher wrote on the chalkboard. Well, at some point, paper and pencil was introduced into the classroom. And then notes started flying around, and people bullied people with the notes. And so we've learned how to integrate pen or pencil and paper in the classroom effectively. This is a different level, but I think the analogy is similar. We just got to figure out how to do it. And like you said, Tina, there's got to be consequences when you use any type of tool inappropriately. So, but I want to go back for a minute. I want to say, I thought the process was fantastic. Thank you, Martha and Amy and team. Roz did a great job bringing all those voices together. Working, I think not overworked, but we spent more time on our mission, vision, and goals than I think originally anticipated. But we dealt with it. We
But it
worked
was
with
good.
it.
It was a good
was good.
process.
And I think everybody's voice was heard. And how we were able to then compartmentalize those things and then move them forward. I was very impressed how Roz was able to do that. So I thought the process was great, and I appreciate using the outside consultant. I think everybody that was involved in the process enjoyed it as well. My concern, a little bit different than Lee's, is more along the lines of, since we haven't developed anything, the action steps below the strategies, I kind of wonder if we're, if the $4 million is the right number. And what I'd say to you is, I'm supportive of this, and I'm supportive of approving the $4 million, because just like Mr. Nesser said, I think it's extremely important to invest in our future. And I have seen how the prior strategic plans have allowed us to take a notch up each time. So I'm all in. And I think we can do the same thing with exceeding excellence. But I want to make sure we don't just use a number, that we look at what we think we need, and that you and your team is willing to come back to the board and say, you know what, we said 4, but after doing these action steps, I think we need 4.5. I want you to be able to do that because I don't want to undercut the advantages we can have. Now, again, it'd be great if it's 3.5, okay? But I want to make sure that we get the full bang
Sure.
for the program.
I appreciate that.
So please keep that in mind coming back if
Okay.
you see a need once the action steps have been developed.
I think Dr. Shidwolf would agree to that.
You're talking about the AI and going back, you know, Lee, I don't remember if you were at these meetings or not, but it was very funny. We used AI how many times in those meetings? Because people were trying to figure out how to phrase things.
Right.
And there were several times where we used Chat GPT to, or somebody would raise their hand and go, well, say, Chat GPT says it ought to be blah, blah, blah. And then we elaborate on that. So it was kind of interesting how it was utilized within that group. And I guess the only other thing I wanted to say was with respect to the wraparound services that you were talking about, and Tina, you mentioned a concern that you had. You know, the wraparound services that we currently have that Dr. Webb has been very successful and his team at getting the grants for, that's an extension of us, right? And in some ways, it's a specialty extension. So while our counselors can be there for the kids every day and can see those kids, they are one step in the process, but they can use those wraparound services to enhance and provide more to our students. So I don't see it as long as it's utilized as an enhancement, they're still involved with that student that needs to have some additional involvement. And as I appreciate all the wraparound services, Tina, no one is going to use a wraparound service if their parent or guardian isn't aware of it. So you know, the parent or guardian is going to be aware, and they can make that decision about whether or not their child or their student would utilize the service. So I'm not concerned, you know, from that area, as long as we're having reputable partners for those.
That's a great point. Thank you for adding that.
But I just think it's something that we have to continue to just look at. And not
Absolutely.
just assume that our checks
Absolutely.
and balances are all correctly in
And
place.
the
that
team
we
does a
need to-
great job of that. Dr.
Yeah.
Webb, Steve Shields, and the entire team. For sure, that's important. Mr. Lewandowski, any thoughts? I feel like you have some. I just see it in your eyes.
So I guess my thought here is that we've seen strategic plans work for us in the past. They've been very successful. They've given us the things that we wanted. I think that in talking about AI is a tool. It's like a shovel. You can dig a hole with a shovel, or you can kill somebody with a shovel. I mean, it's how you use it. And one of the things we have to do is figure out the best way to use it. I think that is 10 goals excessive? I don't know. I can't say that for sure. Some of them seem to be somewhat repetitive, but if you look at the intent, they each have a meaning. And I think that, first of all, I'm supportive of this, and I think that as the program develops, they will automatically be taken care of along the way. If they see that there's duplication, I'm sure that will be combined and moved along. I don't see that it's going to be an issue. And I agree with John that we want to make this plan work. So whatever we have to do for it to be successful like the last ones, then I'm in for it.
Thank you.
I want to reiterate, I'm not anti-AI. I'm not going home to throw away my Alexa. But I've just got questions and concerns, and we're talking about a $4 million price tag. It's coming out of general fund, right?
Yes,
Not
sir.
bond dollars. It's like, this is out of our savings, if you want to call it that. And I started asking about wraparound services because I've learned from Martha Salazar Zamora that there's only so much of the pie.
That's true.
And if
You
you're
can't make
taking
the
from
pie any
one,
bigger.
you got to give to another. So if you're wanting to do something, you got to cut something out. That's the only reason I brought that up, is I would much rather have people much rather have boots on the ground. Let's make it a goal to have 90% of our money spent on staffing. Like, it's about people. That's who the kids will remember. It's about the people. It's about the teachers. They're not going to remember Great Expectations. They're not going to remember their technology they learned. They're going to remember their coaches' names. They're going to remember the teachers that loved them. They're going to remember the counselors that gave themselves and counseled and actually were there when their friends died. Right? I mean, it's all about people. So I'm not anti-technology, but whatever we can appropriate to people that might be going into technology that's not necessary, I don't know. I just figure it's worth asking. So that's my complaint or my criticism or
That's your concern.
that's my concern. That's a better way to put it. Yeah, get out on Facebook and retweet all my comments, right? Sound like a negative Nelly. You only have to listen to me for 3 or 4 more months, so God bless all of you. Thank you, Martha.
It was a
Thank
good
you.
concern. Something
Thank
to
you
always
for
be
your
considered.
comments. Okay, Dr. Schitterwolf, I think
Okay,
that's a
thank you.
wrap. Thank you. Okay. Having no public comments on agenda items, I will move on. To review business agenda for September 10th, 2024, tomorrow evening. We have consent agenda, a donation for $25,000 from Tomball Memorial High School Booster Club to TMHS Athletics Department. We do have an ask for an out-of-state field trip. Yes, sir?
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am,
Do
sorry.
we know what that 25,000 is?
We do, it was listed, it's a number of materials, it's trips and materials. They listed about 6 different items in the
Okay, I
backup.
missed it in the,
Yeah, there's quite a few things actually listed. But overall materials and some other perks for the students. Then we have an out-of-state field trip for Tomball Memorial High School, Susan Kubiar, for DECA International Career Development Conference. We have the Continued Human Talent request, which is G. Then H and I are policies, which I want to thank the policy committee, in particular led by Karen Graves. I know they reviewed a lot of this with some specificity looking at EFB, so I want to thank everyone for the review and all of the information that was put together by the policy committee for the board to review and approve. Then considered agenda, we have A and B. They are both similar. They're both to approve the resolution sanctioning first the Waller County 4-H, B is the Harris County 4-H organizations as an approved student extracurricular activity. And in our conversation, I want to remind you that this is after everyone has passed the criminal history report and all of their eligibility for participation has been reviewed. All of the names of the staff members are listed. As we continue our conversation about 4-H, item C is to approve the extension agents to serve as adjunct faculty members for student participation in Montgomery County 4-H activities. And again, the same issues such as satisfactory criminal history reports and verification of eligibility will be looked into. D is an annual request to approve the 24-25 MOU between Tomball ISD and Montgomery County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program, JJAEP. E is also an annual request to approve the interlocal agreement between Tomball ISD and Klein ISD for transportation for students expelled to the Harris County JJAEP. F, you've heard a lot about our partnership with Harris County, and we'd like to ask for the Precinct 4 continuation, approve the interlocal agreement with Harris County for the school resource officer services. And remember, their year is October 1 to September 30th. As a reminder, we did go up from the numbers from 29 to 30. We've included West Elementary there, and there was an increase in the information that has been shared.
And Martha,
Yes, sir.
just to clarify, with respect to bringing on West Intermediate,
Yes.
since the calendar year, their year is different than ours.
Yes, sir.
That'll just be an amendment that we'll make later on.
Yes, sir.
Yep, okay.
Thank you for that. Moving on to G, approve the Hunting Services proposal using choice partnerships with the contract number as listed to replace the cooling towers at Tomball High School for an amount of $1,077,947 using Bond 2021 funds. We've talked about this. Last board meeting was the initial step towards this with the chillers. Now this is for the cooling towers. And in the event that you approve G, we would ask you to approve H. If you do not approve G, then we won't need H. H is a complement, and that is to approve Texas General Contractors approval using using Choice Partners to replace the chiller building roof at Tomball High School so that we have a new roof to support these items that we are asking for. And that would complete that entire project. And again, the age, as we've mentioned in the past, and the concerns we have in the event with the extreme heat, that we do have something go out. That's a high school that we would not be able to farm out to other places. We would have a very challenging time and a very unhappy campus.
And that was the question I had, is, so this, assuming this passes tomorrow night, this completes that project for
Yes,
Tomball
sir.
High School, and they are good to go for some period
For
of time?
many years.
For years.
Yes.
Because that'll give them 4 fully functioning
Correct.
units.
Correct.
Okay. Martha, how old are the cooling towers? Because I've approved quite a few chiller replacements.
Yeah,
I don't know that I've actually ever approved a cooling tower. Are they?
over 15 years?
No, they're over 20 years.
Okay, I was making them
Okay.
younger than they are. I
They're
love
over
to do
20
that.
years.
Yeah, they have a long life.
20 years.
And then I'm assuming these are going to extend over to the new CTE portion?
Correct.
So this is going to.
This is for the whole kit and caboodle, yes.
So, yeah, so we're actually putting more pressure on the system, so hopefully it'll all last up and.
Will that actually, the current units be used for the new CT or the?
Oh, wait, no,
the
it's
barn?
not
I think
connected. It's a whole separate
The
facility.
conversion of the barn will be
Yeah,
completely
they'll
different.
have their own separate
Yeah,
units.
that's right. That's
Okay.
coming along beautifully, by the way. Very nice.
And I guess we might not know the answer here, but between the new chillers and these cooling towers, is there any energy efficiency that we think we'll experience?
Yes,
from
sir.
this? Some-
Zach?
Definitely, and part of it is right now, when you look at those cooling towers that we have, they're working overtime just to keep up with temperatures and keep that building cool right now. So as we introduce new equipment, it's going to come with increased efficiency. They're not going to have to work as hard, not going to pull as much electricity there. And it's also going to help facilitate, we're doing the renewal with the chillers. That's going to help facilitate and make sure that those last longer than what we expect as well.
Okay.
All good questions. Thank you so much. This is a really important item, so we appreciate it. The next item is, as you've mentioned, CTE area. We know we've made a lot of additions, renovations, the cafeteria line. If you've not had a chance to go by and see that, it is quite nice. It looks beautiful, but because of that, our very active fire chief here in Tomball has asked that we approve he is asking that we redo the system at Tomball High School based on the many additions and changes that we've made there. It does come with a hefty price tag, but this is a requirement as per our active fire chief. The Fire Safe Protection Services is in the amount of $572,950 to upgrade the existing fire alarm system for Tomball High School using Bond 2021.
So Martha, I noticed in the backup, there were comments about how we're going to try and do that through our ancillary department over the course of several breaks.
Yes, sir.
So my question to you is, if we have a problem, let's say we work on it during spring break, like gave us, 5-6 days. What's our plan B if that 5 days we work on it, we don't get that new component up and running? I mean, are you running parallel systems for a while? Or what's our plan B? Because students are coming back the next week.
Right. So we have, when we have a break, any break, there are items of by priority level, right? Jim has worked through it, of course, Zach and others, Mitch and the whole team. And so this would be, anything safety related would be priority. So it's not as if we would run out of time now when you say a problem, we would ensure that all that we need is ordered in advance, so we're not waiting for equipment, because that's the big piece of that too. But if there were a problem, then we would, of course, have to still function with the existing as we're creating, work simultaneously, in other words.
Yeah, 'cause
Before
my
a full conversion takes place.
My experience with some of those fire alarm systems is you almost have to have two systems running because they don't talk. So you bring the new equipment on and it doesn't talk to the old panel.
And that's a bit of the concern of why he's asking for a full, complete new one, to
Yeah.
make sure that everything is in unison. And we have made a lot of changes, so we feel like,
I just want to make sure we got a plan B
Yeah.
because the kids are coming back after a week. We don't have this whole summer to
Right.
figure out the issue. So I just want to make sure.
to add it.
And maintenance won't be doing it themselves. This is going to be, Fire Safe is going to be the company that's coming in, and they're going to be the ones doing that side of it.
Ancillary's just doing patching the sheet
Yes.
rock. Okay,
All of those smaller
Okay.
pieces. So
I was
we'll be
assuming it
working
was all
directly with
together.
that vendor.
okay.
And the background for this is it's not necessarily discretionary, right? This is
Correct.
kind of, we must do this.
Yeah, it's a requirement
Yeah.
if we want to keep the school open.
Okay.
Okay, that's a very
I
good
would
point.
like to do that, yes.
Yes, I would like to also. It'll be
Yeah.
nice and cool, too.
Okay.
All right, if you approve everything, of course. Let's see. All right, moving on. The next item is to approve a correcting addition of $16,996 to the originally approved amount of $2,832,709, and that is for Tomball West High School. And that is honestly the amount needed for the delivery of very large equipment that was not added. So that's just to make sure that we get all the equipment we need for that beautiful new high school. Next item is to approve the selection of the following vendors to complete the civil engineering surveying and compliance inspections for the addition of the sidewalks at Early Excellence Academy, EEA, and Staff Development Center using bonds 2021 funds, and then the engineering and other company is listed, Winning Ways. This is a requirement. The city of Tomball is mandating that we do this. It is a new mandate in Tomball, not just of the district, but of entities that we put in sidewalks, and so we must do this. I will say that I am thankful that they worked with us on the timing, because they did want it at the beginning of the first day of school, which was this past year, and so I am grateful that they've given us this time. It does come at a high dollar amount, but it is a requirement. It is the cost of doing business in Tomball, and something that we must do.
So Martha, this is just a selection of the vendors.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm assuming that we're anticipating that the cost will be within your authorization authority, or either you'll come back to us?
It will approximately be 120,000, so we'll likely bring, we're not sure, but that's
Okay.
what I'm guessing,
But
because
right-
I asked the same question.
Okay, okay. But right now, all we're doing is approving the vendors.
I know it was more money than I wanted to spend,
Okay.
but I understand it is a requirement.
Right.
So, okay, moving on to traffic signs. Approve selecting traffic signal construction to provide and install 2 separate traffic signal systems for the amounts listed. Of course, one would be for our new West complex. The other would be at the Tomball Innovation Center. And I know we've talked a lot about traffic signals and us bearing the cost of that. And yes, we are expected to. We're also asking that you approve the rental of the traffic signal equipment if it is not available for $10,000 per month for traffic signals construction. And Zach is available for any and all questions related to traffic signs.
Well, what's driving the need for a rental? Do we have a drop dead date that we're supposed to have this installed?
No, it's mainly for us. We want to have this in place before the next ag show.
Okay.
So
High
that
traffic.
project show, we want to have that in place. And so in the event something occurs that delays the project, we want to make sure we have a backup plan that's going to help facilitate the traffic flow for that event.
So this $10,000 per month is only in respect to the traffic signal at the TIC?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, item M, I think this is a really important, although it's very wordy, I'm going to read it. It's a reminder of the good work of the Tomball Independent School District School Board and the support and the promise to our community that we will always do what is right for the taxpayers and the community members. And I so appreciate that, because I know not all school boards ensure and expect this to happen. So M is to approve the order authorizing the defeasance and redemption of a portion of the district's outstanding unlimited tax school building and refunding bonds, Series 2018, approving an escrow agreement and providing for other matters and procedures related thereto. What does that actually mean? Well, in Dr. Z's language, that means, and I'm sure I'll be corrected, but let me see, I've been working on this. That means $14.1 million in payoff, interest savings of $11.1 million, with a total of $25.1 million removed from debt service requirement. So when you think about this board saying, yes, we do want to go for bonds, but in any way and every way possible, continue to save taxpayers. On top of building these beautiful buildings and do all that we do for our kids, do what you can for the taxpayers of this community. So, Mr. Bowles, will you fill in all the gaps that I've left?
You said that very well.
Oh, good. I have been paying attention.
But if there are any questions from the board, I'll take those. And I also have our financial advisor here tonight, Mr. John Roebuck, as well.
I just think it's important that everybody understand how important that item is. That's a huge savings when we talk about millions of dollars saved just because of good responsibility and high expectations of our elected board members. I appreciate that.
So basically, Zach, this is, we can pay off debt early, we can pull ahead, we can pay it off, therefore we will not pay $11+ million in interest.
That's
right?
correct. And it doesn't impact the interest in sinking tax side of the tax rate. So we would leave that the same. There would be no increase in required in order to be able to do this.
Okay. I mean, I can't find fault in saving $11 million in taxpayer money. I mean, that sounds very good to me. So it seems like good financial stewardship for our community, good bang for the buck for the taxpayer. So it seems like an awfully good idea to pull ahead and pay it off, and also remove our debt burden, lower it by 14 million, something 15 million, I think it is. So I'm supportive. I think it's a great move for us to do that. Thinking long-term about the district and the financial health, which is something that, in my experience, this board has done for a very long time, and I'm happy to be a part of that and continue it. Just, again, thinking long-term, down the road,
Right.
on how to keep a very good thing going and keep it going very well and take it even further, thinking about strategies and exceeding excellence, right? So this is all aligned with that sort of strategy in my mind. That's how I view this.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate the efforts to look at the defeasance every year, look to see what we can do. And this is great, right? We're paying about $15 million to pay off $14 million, and we save the taxpayer about $11 million. So that seems like the right thing to do in my mind.
Okay. Moving on, N is to adopt the tax rate resolution with a total property tax rate of 1.0629, with a maintenance and operation tax rate of 0.6669 and an INS tax rate of 0.3960. O is to approve the notice.
Well, hang on, let's go back, because I mean, first off, this is great, right? This is actually a little bit lower tax rate than last year.
Yes, sir.
2/1000ths of a penny less, or a dollar, 2/1000ths of a dollar less. So we're basically keeping the tax rate at the same level. There are other issues that come with that, though, as we move forward. So, I appreciate everybody's work in building a budget that, while we do have a deficit in the budget, we have planned for that with our fund balance. But again, we're having a tax rate that is at or less than what we were last year. So appreciate people's efforts to continue to work with the financial stability of the district.
Okay. Moving on. Approve the Notice of Grant Award for Interactive Online Learning Grant Cycle 1 from TEA in the amount of $300,000. As Dr. Schindelwolf discussed tonight, approve the beliefs, vision, mission statement, objectives, goals, and strategies aligned to Exceeding Excellence 2030. The companion to that, and a big ask with big expectations and a big promise to achieve big dreams, approve the resolution for Committed for Strategic Plan, increasing the reserve set aside for these objectives to, I will say, begin at $4 million. Okay? The next item is to approve the resolution to release $16 million from Committed for future construction projects. So let's have a little conversation and a reminder of history. So in 2021, we set aside $36 million for future construction projects because we knew there was a lot of uncertainty with projects and we were concerned about what we were going to do. Now we have been able to bid out everything other than the completion of Creekside Park Junior High. That's the final thing that we have. And we feel as if out of that $36 million, we can ask that $16 million, in essence, go back. And so if you're wondering, where does the $4 million come from? That's actually where we're planning to pull that $4 million from. And so again, thank you for allowing us at a time where we felt that was needed. And now this is a give back to the degree that we can until we complete that final project, which is our addition to Creekside Park Junior High.
And I think it's important, right, to point out that some of that, of course, not all of it, but some of it is also being made up by the interest rates that we've been able to achieve
Absolutely.
with the bonds that we have sold already. So that was an unexpected benefit that we didn't see 4 years ago, 3 years ago, so.
Right. You are right. Thank you for that comment. The next item is, again, we've asked this before, and that is to approve the most current list for the 24-25 Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System, otherwise known as T-Test, appraisers list. And final T is unfortunately something that has come up with more frequency than I cared to, but I will say what I always say. We make a commitment to staff. We ask that they commit to our district for 1 year, and we commit to them for 1 year. If they break that commitment, then we unfortunately do move towards sanctioning of their certification. We've been very consistent with that, and sadly, we have 2 individuals that chose that path, one being Celeste Matthews. So it is recommended that the Board of Education render the finding under Texas Administrative Code section listed that good cause did not exist as required by Texas Education Code as listed for Celeste Matthews to resign her employment contract and Stephen Silva to resign his employment contract. That concludes the meeting.
Well, since Dr. Pratt's not here, I'm gonna ask his question.
Okay.
I'm assuming with Celeste and Stephen, we have gone through the whole
Yes, sir.
whole thing. They know what's going on, and we extended everything we could do.
With one, it's been an actual abandonment of students, has not come back to the classroom, to the campus, to the district. And with the other, we've worked to get the documentation that was needed, and were unable to sufficiently get that prior to their departure.
Okay.
But thank you for asking that question for
Well,
Dr.
he's
Pratt.
only fussy for not asking.
I'm sure he would appreciate it. That concludes the agenda for tomorrow evening. I turn the meeting back over to the president.
All right, thank you, Dr. Z.
Thank you.
So I didn't mention this earlier before we started the agenda review, but we did not have anybody sign up for public comment on the agenda items this evening, so we did not have that portion before we started the review. There is no closed session needed this evening, and so at this point, I will open the floor up to my fellow board members for any comments they may have. Anybody got anything?
Well, I'll go first again.
Okay.
You probably saw that, probably seeing that I'm not running for my position. So it's going to be a good 8 years. Same thing with what Lee said. You got to hear me for 3 more meetings and maybe 2.5. I don't know by December, but it's been a pleasure. Like all of us here, we're just we're very underpaid volunteers. So did we make every right decision that the public thought? Probably not. But there's a lot of things I would not change, even though we can Monday quarterback everything for the last 8 years. So there's very few things I would change. The only thing that didn't get done is I wanted us to be, one day, be substitute teachers for one day, just to be in.
Oh.
So that's the only thing that didn't get done. I said, hey, we can all do PE. That should be really easy. Don't, I mean, I don't think any of us can do physics or nothing. Maybe John can, but Mark, let's do some physics. But I was just saying, hey, put me in PE. I'll be fine. I can blow a whistle and we can play kickball or dodge. Do the kids play dodgeball anymore? No.
Dodgeball? You used to call it blood ball?
That's terrible.
Yeah.
But thank y'all. But they had a good time, had a good, great, knowing behind the scenes, what's been going on. I would say my grandpa was right over there. So he's kind of got me going on this. Hopefully my kids, hopefully one of the other three might do this same thing one day. But, you know, when I talk about their last bond thing, you know, I kept telling everybody, think generationally. You know, just because your kid might be here for 10 years or 12 years or 3 years, everything hopefully we've been doing, we're thinking about the next generation, third generation, fourth generation. That's why we build these buildings. Like Decker Prairie, I mean, I went to second grade there, and it still looks like it did, I think it did, when I went there. You can't really tell that's getting old school now. Just like talking about intermediate, I think my mom went to high school there back in the good old days. So, you know, these buildings, yeah, like probably Lee said before, these are a lot of money for these buildings, but, you know, we're not tearing them down in 20 years. We like to keep them and keep adding to them, and, you know, we drive until the wheels fall off, and so far, I don't think only building begging doors, but that was a whole different problem
Different story.
in this building right here. But you know, that was even old when John was here. So, yeah. But I want to just say thank y'all. But on for the election, I'm not going to get political on it, but do not believe what's on this thing. Okay. So if you got a question to the candidate, just ask them. They all got Facebook. They all got websites. They all got stuff. Just call them, email them, text them. You might see them in HEB at the avocados, against avocados or something. So you got a question, ask them. Don't believe what's on Facebook or what your friends, cousin, uncle said about them. Just ask them. They're going to tell you what they think, and then you can make a decision on who you're going to vote for. So I do, one of the things kind of like from the last election, I do worry about some of to get elected officials to volunteer, because we're all volunteers. We get paid basically a hamburger and twice a month maybe, and in a bottle of water. So, but you know, the one thing I do worry about from now on is when me and Lee ran. You know, I gave him a good whooping on that one, but it was all in fun. I mean, we weren't, you know, we didn't battle each other, and but now it's getting to where it's getting very political. It's not about who's the best. It's about who's, you know, what political party you're at. Well, you know, education, I don't think should be about political party. It's to find the best 7 people who can get the job done, work with everybody, and what's best for education, what's best for kids, not what's best for me or my kid. So I think what the group we have here does that. And I hope we just keep that tradition going about, I know Mark has said in the past, he's made decisions that actually hurt his family and not, you know, so those are the kind of things that we need to keep in mind on candidates who are going to do what's best for the school district. And that's, you know, doing lower bonds or whatever has to be done. Those people we need. I don't care if they're R, D, independent, whatever. Find the people who are the best, who will make sure Tomball is set up for the next 20 years. So that's all I got.
So Matt, will you admit to stealing my signs 7 years ago?
I cannot. If somebody did steal them, hey, you know what, baby, that's just how politics is.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Though I think you did steal my signs.
I did not personally steal them.
Yeah.
Not
See,
personally.
you see? Are you hearing
Okay.
this? You hearing
With our
this? I'm
attorney
kidding.
sitting
I
down there.
really am kidding. since Matt, I guess, formally announced, and I kind of informally, I'll follow. Man, what a pleasure it's been. And what I said earlier tonight about people is that that is what this seat is all about, is about being on a team with a much broader team. Anybody running needs to know that it really is about this team and getting things done for the good of these kids and our families. It has been a blast. And I'm not even done yet, but I'm going to get misty-eyed just thinking about it because I think we've done a lot of good. I think we've done a lot of good for our kids and for the families, the teachers and admin. It comes down to people. And really, if there's any legacy that Matt and I might leave, it would be just that we hopefully did a lot of good for a lot of people. The educators, the funds that we're trying to approve of, and all of the good that admin and all of those that you lead. My goodness, what a gift it is to be in Tomball. So I'm super grateful. I'll keep saying how grateful I am between now and December. You'll get tired of that. But it's been a lot of fun. So I won't make any comments on the election other than the persons running need to know that it is about getting in this seat to serve this community with this team. You learn a lot in this seat. So super, super grateful. Yep.
Anybody else?
They said a lot, so I was going to say, they said a lot, so I can't really add to that, you know. I don't think he stole your signs.
Well, not
Maybe
him
he did.
personally.
Maybe he did, but I don't think he did. But he could have.
All right.
Allegedly not. I don't know.
Anybody else? The other side? No? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's made by Mr. Shields, seconded by Ms. Salem. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. We're now adjourned.